Well, if you thought part one, the front yard, was incredible, wait till you see part two. And here's some things I want you to be on the lookout for. Her very favorite tree, it's a Crimson Queen Japanese maple that is pruned ever so artistically. She's got a number of little features that you're going to want to probably replicate in your own garden. There's a little fountain, lots of charming wind chimes, some pumpkin topiaries, all sorts of special signature touches that are Sammy's and Van's very special way of inviting you into their backyard. And I know the clipped boxwood, it's not necessarily low maintenance, but by the same token, you don't have any lawn to mow.
No.
You don't overseeding. You don't have any of that.
Not at all. We did, when we first moved here, of course, and the trees were all not mature, we had grass all in the whole backyard. The entire backyard was grass. And then as the trees grew, as they do, then we took it all out and said, okay, we're going to put it, and I love flagstone. I love flagstone.
Yes,
and the pea
yes.
gravel, any of that, I've always been a fan of that. I've always loved it. And so we took it all out, bye-bye grass, and low maintenance other than all of the trimming. We have to keep this nice and pristine and trimmed because it's such a small garden. And
well, it being a small garden makes it manageable.
It does.
It helps you actually relate to the garden in a very personal way, and I find it therapeutic and really cathartic, especially now, to be able to come outside and do some of your own work. So I want to make sure that Stuart, this needs to be our thumbnail for this video, because this vista and these garden rooms, sometimes I think small gardens lend themselves to making small garden rooms more even than large gardens.
I think so too. I mean,
so it is just, it's just wonderful, but I'm getting ahead of myself because I want to point out another brilliantly sculpted tree, this Crimson Queen Japanese maple. And you seldom, or at least I seldom see them this large.
Is that right?
Yes, normally the ones I see are a little bit smaller. So look at the way this is contorted and has
I love it.
a very
it's my
Asian
favorite.
quality
it's my
about
favorite.
it.
It's my, as John and I were saying, and Van, my husband, we were saying, that's Sammy's tree, don't touch it. So, but we've had to have it trimmed on this side because it's all fanning out toward the sunlight that way. But I as you said, I love the contorting part of it, and it's just so interesting to me. And but I didn't think it was going to get that big actually, but I don't think it'll get much bigger.
But it's got this umbrella shape to it, and I bet when morning light comes through these leaves and the shadows it creates must just be magical.
It is beautiful. And then I like to go around and walk around it too, because in the fall, it would turn colors. And that portion out coming from that direction, it's just beautiful. The colors are so pretty and magnificent.
And look at this. Is that not just adorable?
I don't think they've found that yet.
Just adorable. And look at these. Look at just your really unique garden art. That's just magnificent. Is there a story behind these?
There is a story behind that, and that is, I think we all know Janis Joplin. We remember Janis Joplin. All right, this is her sister and her husband that live here in Oklahoma City, and her husband made those.
Oh.
And they are a sweet little garden shop that had to close their doors a couple of years ago. She retired, a Wilshire Garden Market, and she sold these, and they were on, they were hanging. She had some that were, sit-abouts, and they were just sitting, big sculptures.
Oh wow!
They're just beautiful. But
well, I used to do workshops at Carol's at
you
Wilshire
did.
Garden Market,
yes, you
and
did.
I don't remember
that.
seeing these, or I think I would have had to snag some.
Oh boy!
But I love the fact that you've got them hanging in threes, and I love the story that
I do
with
too.
Janis
It just
Joplin.
makes you
That's just
happy. I
that's
know.
just incredible.
It just makes you happy, and I just think all of the way he has put all
Oh,
the
yes.
different notches in there,
And it kind of matches. You've got some little violas, some blue violas over there, and I just love that
you
color.
can tell I like blue and I like purple,
And it just looks beautiful. There's so much to see. Okay, Stuart, what is this? This
that's
is
an antique rain barrel.
that is just
The rain would go
unbelievable.
in here, and I don't know. I think it's about 100 years old.
Oh my gosh! And what is this?
Oh,
This looks like a whiskey jug.
They have a lot of those. I picked that up in Europe, and they have a lot of those all over Europe, and as well as here.
So maybe a wine.
It's a
wine jug.
whiskey wine jug.
And I love the fact that this matches and that you've got them in a protected area off of your porch with a charming little sitting area here. You've got some wire vines, some Muhlebeckia in here, and this porch. So this is stamped concrete.
Concrete. It is, and it was much more brilliant, of course. But as it's faded out, I kept thinking, maybe I should stamp it again and have it more brilliant. But I kind of like
No,
the
I
weathered.
like it.
You do?
Oh, yes, I love it weathered.
I like the weathered look.
And you're framed, as we go back into the garden, you're framed by pots filled with succulents and ivy, and I love it. Tell me about these over here.
Those aren't true antiques, actually. They're new. And if I may, they're from Ethan Allen.
Really?
They were in my house at one point, in my husband's office. And then I started, just thinking about how great they'd look out here. Just a little added, rustic touch. So we put those.
What
out
was
here.
their original intention? Just ornament?
Not sure.
Just
I think so. I don't know if if they
door
were actually
door knockers or
I'm
something.
not sure if they
or-
were supposed to be. They're new. They're not true antiques, but I don't know if they were really like some type of a pulley, back in.
Well, they also have kind of a Western vibe to them, a wagon wheel
I
vibe.
think so too.
So then, okay, the pergola is just incredible. So I was telling you that after you were on the horticultural tour, that I put some video and also some stills up of this pergola, which is one of the most liked stills I've put on Instagram ever. I love these flame-filled lanterns.
Pretty. I like those.
They
a
are
lot. We
just
love them.
spectacular.
They just make you happy, and we keep them on all the time, actually, and just enjoy them so much.
And then about 1 million people are going to ask us, what vine is this growing up around the pergola?
Well, that is a woolly morning glory, and they are incredible. They just grow. You can almost see them grow an inch each night. They're just so fast growing, but they love the heat. And once, we'll plant them, and you can see all the little areas. We had those cut out, the circles there in the patio, and so we planted it. I bet they're not any taller than a foot, and they're planted in May, and then actually in June, when the weather starts to get warmer, they love the heat, and so they really start taking off.
So they're an annual.
They're an
so
annual.
You plant them every year.
Yes, they're an annual, and darn it, because we're going to lose them here pretty soon.
Pretty soon, but
pretty soon. But the leaves are beautiful, and what I love also about them is I love the branches. It's almost like velvet, and they wrap themselves around. See how it's twisted around?
The contortion of it.
Yes, and I just love how they just, and we just keep tacking them. We use little nails, and we just keep training it to go up.
Up and over. And look, it's the perfect color. It's a perfect color match.
Well, I hadn't noticed that. You would notice.
To your tree. Isn't it just marvelous?
It
Do
is.
they bloom? Do they bloom?
They usually bloom this year, but it's usually at the very end of this season.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't see any blooms on them, and we'll only get a bloom like maybe 2 weeks, and it's usually right up at the top.
And what color is it?
It's kind of a purple.
Is
it's
it?
a very faint, kind of a violet color.
Well, this is so spectacular.
I love it.
I would not mind if it never bloomed because it's really just spectacular.
I think it's just all about the leaves
And
the
then
coverage.
you can just see she was talking about creating planting pockets at the base of the posts, and just one plant, it looks like.
One
Is
no,
it
I
just
think
one?
we did two. We
Two,
did
okay, there's
plants.
two,
Two
okay.
plants per circle.
Well, it just frames it gloriously for a morning glory, for a woolly morning
just so
glory.
pretty, yes.
And then you've got additional string lighting in here. What a wonderful place to sit
just
and
love it.
dine, have breakfast, and you're on a golf course.
We are on a golf course, and we get to enjoy all those beautiful trees out there as well, and space. You know, we have a nice lot because we can enjoy
Yes.
those huge trees out there, you know, far enough away where we don't feel like we're, you know, claustrophobic by
Right.
any means, and we can just enjoy the.
And you feel a little bit like
solitude.
you're in the country, and you can
You
see
really
the
do.
coloring as the fall leaves start to turn. And happily, you've got a red oak right here that looks like two of them maybe. Is that an oak? It's hard for me to tell.
This one right here
that
is
a
an
maple?
October
October Glory.
Glory.
Yes, okay.
That's an October Glory, and then of course that beautiful magnolia. Look at the size
Oh
of that
my
one.
gosh.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's
And I thought it was going to be a small type, but
Uh-huh.
it's not.
But it's not. Yeah.
turned
Well,
out
it is just brilliant and a nice evergreen structure to have there in the corner, and you feel very framed in. And then we've got just your classic, just a cedar tree down there to give you some added privacy.
Privacy.
And I bet the birds love it.
Oh yes, they do. They love it. And then of course the squirrels, they like everything.
They, yes, sadly they do like it. Yes,
They like it all.
They like everything, and you're kind of flanked in boxwood in both pots and in the beds with more of the Mondo Grass. You've got a separate ancillary seating area over here. You feel, again, not at all confined or claustrophobic because you can see through the wrought iron fence. You can see
lots of
through
space.
all of the trees because of the way you've got them sculpted. You can even see through the pergola.
Well,
So-
we were going to put a roof on it, and I'm so glad we didn't because it would have darkened the
Yes.
whole area, and it would have darkened inside of the house. So I'm glad that we did keep that open.
And it would have also really affected what you could grow underneath it.
Yes.
Because I'm sure this morning glory,
Well, and I have to tell you a little story too. When we first moved in, and this was actually 20 years ago, and it really was country. I mean, it was the end of the road it was a dirt road,
Oh,
and now
my.
you can see
Yeah.
on Covell, it's just huge. But there was nothing out here at all. We had one little tree, and so we called Garden Design Associates, John Flewitt, and he said, okay, we'll drop some. We drew up 3 plans, and we picked from one particular plan and decided on that. And so we had decided, okay, we'll just do this in stages. And so I went to work, Van went to work, it was a weekday, and he said, the crew's coming out, and so we'll probably be home, gone by 5 when you get home. And I came home, got home about 5:30, and I couldn't wait to get to see what they had done. And he put the whole yard in all at once.
oh my gosh.
And I just
Started crying
crying.
immediately,
I was like,
yeah.
no, there's no way. This is, and then of course I called John, And he just started laughing. And I said, you are such a little...
He is a little elf. John, we adore John, don't we?
He is something else, and so talented. And then, but now it's changed a lot from the initial. Not a lot, but anyway, we just started enjoying the backyard right off.
Well, and as a garden should, it should evolve over time. And Stuart, you can kind of show the pathway that goes back and runs parallel to the golf course with a lovely sidewalk and a walking path. And
a different perspective every
yeah, it really is.
Areas.
And we'll meet Stuart back over here in this secondary garden room, again flanked by boxwood. And I love the way this is pruned, how it's I don't really know how it's slanted at the top and narrower at the top.
And the way he taught us on that is because the reason being that it will help fill out the bottom
to get
portion.
Light at the bottom portions. That's just wonderful. We've got some spotted leopard plant here, a charming water feature surrounded by flagstone, more of your cherished hydrangeas back here, and some hellebores, some violas. So you have a lot of room for both seasonal color, but very much that signature trademark that I adore of lots of just green on green with little flashes of color versus just large expanses of annuals. This is so soothing.
I was telling Stuart when we first moved here also, you could probably, this was a hot tub at one point. And so we used it a lot. And our grandchildren were all teeny tiny, and they thought it was a swimming pool, of course. So we enjoyed it for probably 10 years, and then it kept breaking, and the kids got older, and we didn't use it. So this is what we did.
A wonderful example of how a garden can evolve and change with its owners over time, and how you can rethink a water feature and recommunicate it. The breeze through here is lovely. You can hear her collection of wind chimes. She's even got enough space for a perennial bed in here. We've got some Angelonia, some Coneflower, a huge pot of Plumbago, some Tradescantia, some more Mondo Grass, some Sedum Autumn Joy. What am I missing in here? It's just, and all in that kind of signature, kind of bluish gray foliage that so matches your house. I just love it.
Well, thank you. It's a happy garden right now.
It's very happy.
And
it's very
looks like
happy.
We're catching it right at the right time too, because I guess we're going to change here in about another week.
Yes, in another week. So whenever you guys are watching this, it is October 21st today.
21st.
So we have yet to have a hard freeze. So a lot of this stuff is still very happy, but it could not be more beautiful out here. I just noticed another fabulous color echo. All of your grayish blues, and then how they mimic the color on the juniper berries.
Oh yes, I see that. I hadn't thought of that before now, but yes.
I love the way it communicates. Other really massive boulders with wonderful lichens, more Indian hawthorn, lots of ferns and things that wave and create movement. Another beautiful Japanese maple over here with some smaller orbs.
Little orbs.
And then...
And I just let those, as you can tell, I don't paint them or anything. I just let those go natural.
That makes... We pay extra for that, for age stuff. Right. And then another seating area over here, if you get a little bit chilly in the shade, you can come over here where it's a little sunnier. And
private little nook.
More succulents. potted evergreens. Is this a Hicks Yew? Do you know?
Yes. That's a yew.
I am so going to have to copy this. Stuart, remind me. I've taken away many things from this garden before, but here's another one. I want a large Hicks Yew, beautifully pruned in a conical shape, and then against the shiny, glossy foliage. And I love the trains in the background.
Oh my gosh, yes, they're here. They are here.
And this magnificent magnolia over here. And you're not sure the cultivar on this?
I am not sure.
But it is just wonderful. It's very columnar, and wonderful visual weight on the corner of the property.
And I think we're all kind of different in that, in one aspect with having to do with trees, and I'm always having them come out and trim our trees. And I'm one that I don't particularly like my trees touching. I like it
open,
a little bit open, and I probably because the yard is small,
right?
And I like the light to come in. But I think it's interesting how you talk to different people, and some they like that overgrowth with, kind of more like an umbrella effect, and then some
just
don't,
like the distinction. Well, it gets more light down in here. If they were both the same kind of tree, you might want them to meet, but since they're two different specimens, maybe not. So I cannot thank you enough for showing us your
Linda.
Magical spot.
It was my pleasure. I just love you, and I appreciate you so much and all your input.
Well, it's just really wonderful. It's one of my favorite gardens in Oklahoma City. Actually, I should say we're not even in Oklahoma City. We're in Edmond, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City. It's where a period of my growing up years, I grew up in Edmond, and it's just nice to visit and catch up with old friends. Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's my pleasure. Now we get to go have tea.
Yes, yes.